Hi, this is Jenny Fern, and in this video I want to show some of my plant watering routine for the plants that I have growing outside, and also do a little bit of a reading of the first draft of my short story, Garden Day. So I was very inspired by doing so much gardening while I was doing this prompt-based writing experiment, I guess, that I also just started incorporating all of these plants and all of this gardening into my writing. So I thought that it was appropriate to show me actually watering the plants that I'm growing outside. So now I'll get into the story. "Remember, I'm off tomorrow," says June Cervantes, untying her faded black apron. "Jeff should be covering for me." "Are you going somewhere?" asks Lissa, tamping ground coffee into the portafilter. "I'm visiting my great aunt. Tomorrow is garden day, so I've got to help her with some stuff." She hangs her apron on a hook in the back room. "What is garden day?" Lissa asks, her hand ready on the start brew button. "I'll tell you on Wednesday. I gotta get going." She grabs her longboard from the back room and heads out with a wave. Her alarm goes off at 6 the next morning. Her boyfriend rustles under the comforter. Dull light seeps through the curtains, allowing her to get dressed. Jean shorts, a red t-shirt, a baseball cap, ponytail through the back. She grabs an apple for breakfast and shoves the whole bottle of sunscreen in her bag. She triple checks that she has the list in her pocket. With care, she kisses her boyfriend on the cheek. Sleepily, he says, "Call me if you need anything, and say hi to her for me." First, she has to stop by the nursery. She walks down the gravel driveway, longboard under one arm. "Hi," she says when she's reached the front counter. The list is already unfurled in her hand. "I need to get some flowers. None of these." She passes a slip of paper over to the cashier. "And preferably a perennial that would do well in full sun." "I'll get someone for you," the cashier says. Then, over his walkie-talkie, "Layla, someone could use your help." Layla shows up a short while later, meeting June on the side of the sales counter, where she is leaned up against the wall under the shade. Wearing a broad straw sun hat, a pale plaid long-sleeve button-up, and faded blue jeans, she leads June down rows and rows of flowers. Her look is adjacent to that of a scarecrow. After viewing the list, she looks scared herself. "No carnations, dahlias, chrysanthemums, black-eyed Susans?" she says. She runs her finger down the list. "No coneflowers, delphinium, peonies, lavender, aster, irises? Boy," she says, "why none of these? They're all great flowers." "She already has them," June says. 46 anniversaries, she says by way of explanation, plus the years since, so there should be 51 on here. She peeks over at the list that Layla is holding as if to verify. "This might help." She hands Layla a pen. "If we see one that's not on this list, then I'll take it." She ends up with a small black plastic pot of yellow flowered coreopsis. "I think she'll like these," June says. She loves her black-eyed Susan, so she'll adore these. "Thank you." The trek back down the gravel driveway is more difficult holding both the flowers and the board, but it's nothing June hasn't done before. Great Aunt Gloria removes the paper wrapping of another hank of embroidery floss. This one is a burnt orange. It reminds her of the old-fashioned her husband used to make, with its twist of orange rind. She unspools some of the thread and snips off about a wingspan's worth. She is in her armchair, elbows propped out to the sides of her. The small TV across from her plays the Home and Garden Network continuously. It didn't used to. Sometimes it would play NASCAR. She pulls her magnifier into view to help her thread the needle. The frayed ends of the snipped thread face her obstinately. She wets them with a small amount of spit between her lips. She purses them, and the thread is obedient. Her hands waver more than they used to, but she is also every day more practiced than she used to be. She threads the needle adroitly and pulls so that the eye of the needle is almost halfway down the length. Neatly and without fuss, she wraps the other end into a knot. She grabs the piece she's working on off the table beside her. It used to be a messy thing, where she would accidentally knock off her husband's empty beer cans when reaching for more thread. The table is clean now. She's working with a large hoop and an expansive cloth that goes down far enough to irritate her ankles. She plucks the needle through the back and stretches up and up until a neat orange strand appears to emanate from the already stitched brown blotches. She is stitching a leaf on a tree beside her first home, where she and her husband purchased it. It was fall, many years ago. The doorbell rings. Gloria weaves the needle into a patch of embroidery fabric, sets her hoop down on the table, and gets up from her chair. She does it all deliberately and as quickly as she can. The doorbell rings again before she can reach it. June stands outside, wiping the sweat from her forehead with her free arm after ringing the doorbell a second time. She can hear Gloria's footsteps approaching, and she takes a slight step back before the door swings open. "June!" she says, and envelops her in a big hug. June has to maneuver the flowers away from an incoming arm. When she finally pulls away, Gloria looks at the flowers and cups the plastic pot with both hands. "These are beautiful. What are they called?" June plucks the little plastic tag out from between two leaves. "Coreopsis," she says, "also called tick seed. It's drought tolerant and prefers full sun." "Beautiful, beautiful. Are you ready to work, or would you like some food first?" June clicks on her phone screen. 10:42. "I can work for a little while. Then we can break for lunch when we start getting tired." June applies ample sunscreen to herself in the living room and helps Aunt Gloria protect the parts of her that will be exposed to the sun. She's wearing white pants and a white long sleeve over a pink shirt with begonias on it. Before leaving through the back door, Gloria fits a wide-brimmed sun hat on her head. About half of the backyard is an expansive flower bed. The other half is a patch of grass with patio furniture on it. Gloria opens the latch to the wooden gardening shed and hands June some gloves. June peers into them, checking for spiders before sliding them on. She is also handed a weeder and a spade. "We've got to pluck the weeds out first," Gloria says with a smile as she loops her gardening apron over her head. June helps her tie it in the back. For reasons unexplained to June, Gloria puts off the majority of weeding until garden day. June's convinced it's because of her services as free labor. Pulling weeds can be strenuous work. Gloria sets her foam knee pads in a patch of shade beside the fence and begins plucking out scarlet pimpernels. Some of them have already started to sprawl out and dry up. Gloria picks these with satisfaction, trying not to leave any of the dried up seed pods behind. She has a harder time picking the ones that are still clustered cutely, like a miniature flower bush. June's at work in a sunny spot of the flower garden, where a bristly ox tongue has grown to about chest height. The spines along the central stem scratch her neck as she grabs the weed by its thick base and pulls. It doesn't give, so she starts to work on the base with her weeder. June and Gloria work and sweat in silence, weeding until a little after noon when Gloria stands up, brushes her hands on her apron, and says, "Lunchtime." June puts 4 slices of whole wheat bread into the 4-slice toaster that's on the counter. She's excited by both the 4-slice toaster, which she's only ever used at Great Aunt Gloria's, and the whole wheat bread, which has little pieces of hazelnuts in it. It's almost decadent for June, having just graduated eating mainly penny pasta, beans, and celery throughout college. Gloria slices a fat beefsteak tomato given to her by a neighbor whose harvest is just too much this year. They eat their sandwiches at the kitchen table. June can't help but notice the layer of dust that's accumulated on the 2 chairs on either side of her. Besides that, the house is looking good. With the curtains opened, it's nice and bright. There are fresh-cut lilies in a vase on the kitchen table, and everything is tidied. The checkered tablecloth and the doily in the center are both free of stains. Taken together, it's a sign of less life here. June chews wheat bread, tomato, lettuce, bacon, mayonnaise, and remembers the first garden day after Uncle Ronnie died. Garden Day didn't have a name then, but it was the day that would be Gloria and Ronnie's 47th wedding anniversary. Gloria had been devastated by Ronnie's death, but the family didn't truly understand until they visited that day. Ronnie had been getting Gloria flowers ever since their first wedding anniversary. She planted the very first flower, some snowdrops, in their new backyard and put a wooden stake next to it with a label. Year after year, he got her a new flower on their anniversary. Gloria replaced old labels, added the anniversary year in which she got each one, and kept very good care of each one, replanting seeds, splitting off bulbs, and keeping the sprawling ones contained. There were several casualties the year that Ronnie died: the carnations, the cornflowers, and the snowdrops, along with several others in very bad shape. What was once a lush patch of colorful flowers during all times of year was dry and shriveled, covered with spiderwebs and dandelions, and encroached by anemones, yarrow, and daisies. June's mom was shocked at the state of her aunt's garden. It had always been such a joy to see when she visited as a kid. It instilled in her a strong sense of fairies. Garden Day began that year to revamp the neglected garden and bring some joy to Gloria that day and year. She received several replacement flowers and one new one, a lobelia. Since then, June's parents moved away to a different town and left her so she could finish her schooling. June takes the last bite of her sandwich and washes it down with iced lemonade. "Thank you," she says. "Ready for more work?" While June hacks away at various tree-like weeds, Gloria settles down to plant her new flowers. "Coreopsis," she writes in all caps on the little wooden stake. On the backside, 52. She sprinkles some water out of her watering can on the ground to soften it. She sits and waits. "How is Lorenzo?" she asks. June isn't sure how to answer. Lorenzo is her little brother. "He's fine," she says. "He's still in school." A cicada drones in the distance. "And your mother?" "She's good." Gloria prods the dirt with the tip of her spade. It's still too dry. She pours more water from the can. June hoists up a cluster of wire-like burr clover, snapping it up from the ground. She bundles it up in her arms and throws it into the wheelbarrow, now piled high with weeds. "How have you been?" June asks, taking a break to sip on more lemonade. "Good, good," Gloria replies, sitting on the ground beside her new flower. "You can talk about him, if you want to." June sets the lemonade back down on the table. There is a silence as June crosses back over to the corner of the garden she's been working on. "You see those dahlias?" Gloria points to a cluster of pinkish red popping from the earth like fireworks. "Those were from year 10. Your Aunt Luce was 3 years old. Ronnie had arranged for her to stay with his parents for the weekend, and we went off camping near the beach. On our way back, we went through this town. They hadn't yet gotten any flowers. And there was a shop that specialized in dahlias. They're lovely," June says. The peaceful quiet falls again, and Gloria starts to dig in the softened earth. When the hole is finished, wide and deep enough to transfer the flowers, Gloria calls June over. "I know you love doing this," she says. "Do you want to take the flower out of the pot?" June smiles. 5 years ago, when she was 16, she was adamant about removing the flowers from their plastic pot. "You're much better at it, Auntie." "Practice, practice in time." Gloria hands the pot over. June leans the pot over on the ground and squeezes it gently until the dirt releases. She guides the pot off and hands the fully exposed flowers to Gloria. Gloria pulls gently at the dirt and roots at the base to loosen them and allow them to merge seamlessly with their new home. "What am I going to do when you leave, June?" Gloria places the flowers into the hole and pats the dirt around them. "I'm not planning on leaving," June says, getting to her feet. "I don't think many people plan on it," Gloria replies, giving the flowers a new splash of water with her watering can. I hope you enjoyed that. I have been having a great time writing short stories recently. I've written 3 now, and I will do some revisions eventually, but I thought it'd be interesting to at least share the first version of this story somewhere. At the end, I started showing some of the footage of weeds in the backyard because I've also been quite interested in what the plants are that are actually growing as weeds. And I learned a lot, actually. I didn't realize, for example, that this plant on the screen right now is chicory. I didn't know that. and it's also covered in bugs, which is kind of gross, but also really fascinating. Yeah, I hope you had fun, and yeah, thank you for listening. Have a good day.